It's funny that you brought up the 1999 World Cup semifinal tied game. To this day, I maintain that's, to me personally, that's my, well, I wouldn't say favorite game, but it's the game that's still imprinted. That finish is still imprinted in my mind. And it's still traumatic because I was a huge South Africa fan at that time. But I'm wondering, as a journalist, like, is it a challenge to remove your own personal fandom or just like your feelings and then write a very dispassionate article, right? Because you're a fan, you're a cricket fan, you have your own personal thoughts on something. How do you balance that, like your personal feelings versus let me be just objective and write how the game unfolded?
Yeah, I learned very early in my career that as a journalist, you're not supposed to uh, take sides. You have to be you have to be unbiased, and that is how you will be judged by your fellow reporters, by the cricketers, or hockey players, footballers, whoever. I did a lot of football and hockey also
Mhm.
in my early journalism. So it was. It came to me easy, even though I had so many friends as cricketers. They were my friends. So sometimes it would become challenged, criticizing them, but I would do. Sometimes what would happen, what I would do is when I would say if Benny was my friend, I would be very careful in criticism. In the sense, I would be less harsh, right? So, but I would still do my job. I never compromised with my profession because I had to be loyal to my sports editor who
Right.
sent me on that assignment and not to the cricketer. And there were a couple of occasions I remember 1998 in there was this Auckland, was it, where Dravid uh, Dravid got a big 100, 1998 series. And when he was coming back after getting out, I just stood up in the press box and I just did this, no sound. And I sat. That was just my expression because I felt it was a fantastic innings. And that was the only time I did it in the press box. And Mr. Dicky Ratnagar, veteran, if you remember, cricket journalist and a commentator, he was one of the finest we have had. He just came up to me and said, "Son, step out." He took me out of. He asked me to come out of the press box and gave me a. He blasted me for what I did. So I said, "Sir, I did nothing. I just did this." He said, "You have to do it. Do it outside the press box, not in the press box. You can't be doing that. Then you're not a spectator in the press box or a cricket fan there." And that was a lesson. And I said, "Sorry, sir, you'll never see me doing that." And before we left the press box after finishing our reports, he used to call me Rao. Rao, meet me in the lobby at 7 p.m. So he took me out for dinner. I mean, after having after having blasted me
Yeah.
what I did, he was kind enough to, he must have realized that, okay, I mean, maybe he was a bit harsh, but I didn't mind. I didn't mind being reprimanded for what I did because press boss is a very sacrosanct place and I shouldn't have done that. I could have maybe gone out and met Dravid at the end of the day. So these are things I learned, and there are other occasions also when I got into, I mean, not an argument. We disagreed. Top players, I mean, there's no point naming them, but most of them, I did at some point had issues with them, but they then a couple of days later we solved it. I mean, we were back as friends. So because they also realized I was doing a job and I
Right.
was not being biased or very harsh, and I was uniform in my criticism. It was not that I was sparing someone and not sparing someone else. So that is it. But I was never really troubled by this fact that I have to be unbiased, because once even you tomorrow, if you go and do a match, I'm sure if you are in that position, if you're sitting watching and you have to write a report, I'm 100% sure you will not take sides. You will be neutral because it comes to you naturally when you sit and write. You will not look to defend somebody and attack somebody.